Hey guys, welcome to Introduction to Genetics. We are going to briefly go over the basic vocabulary that you need for this unit. The first thing I want to do is review this image right here. This is a karyotype. We did this first semester. There are 23 pairs of chromosomes in the human nuclei. You have a female here because she has two X chromosomes. A male would have a chromosome here and a chromosome here for the Y. So every chromosome has genes. Some chromosomes can have thousands of genes on them. The gene in this case is just green, a green line, and it's called the gene locus. It's like, what's your locus? What's your location? The gene locus is right here. Okay, and a gene is made up of DNA, and DNA is made up of base pairs A, T, C, and G. You get one of these lines from your mom, you get one of these lines from your dad. Now click down to this slide and let's fill in the blanks. Genes are located on chromosomes. There are multiple genes on each chromosome. We went over that. A gene is made up of two alleles. Sounds like a fancy word, but it's not. It just means version. One allele on the maternal chromosome and one allele on the paternal chromosome. As we can see down here, one green line here, one green line here. Alleles represent different versions of a gene. So if you look down here, you have chromosome number 1 for a flower. There is the gene locus for the flower color. You have an allele that would represent purple, and you would have an allele that would represent white. Same for stem length here. You have 2 alleles per gene, and it always tells you which one is dominant and which one is recessive. We'll get to that in a minute. Traits are represented with letters. All right, so whenever you do letters that look the same in their different cases, just put a line over the top of the lowercase one just so you don't get yourself confused. Traits and alleles are either dominant or recessive. Okay, dominant traits are represented with capital letters, and recessive traits are represented with lowercase letters. It's gonna annoy me. Moving on. A genotype is represented by 2 letters. Each of those letters represents a particular allele. So a genotype is 2 letters. There are only 3 possible genotypes when you're studying a trait or a gene that has only 2 different options. Okay, so you can be double uppercase or double dominant. This is a type of pure breed. You call this genotype homozygous dominant. Homo means the same. Dominant means both uppercase. Dominant means uppercase. Homozygous means the same. So double lowercase is going to be homozygous recessive, which is also pure breed because there's no mixed genes. It's just 100% recessive or 100% dominant. Homozygous means the same. Recessive, both alleles are the same. When you have a mix, a capital and a lowercase, you have something called a heterozygous genotype. So let's go down here and let's do some practice. These are different genes. I want you to write in the text box next to it if that is going to be heterozygous, homozygous dominant, homozygous recessive. So this one is going to be HD because there are 2 uppercase letters. So go ahead and pause this and fill in the rest of the different types of genotypes here. Next, genotype versus phenotype. The genotype codes for the phenotype. We kind of did this when we did BioDog. I gave you a list of genotypes and then you converted that into the physical appearance. So genotype means gene, phenotype has the PH here for physical expression. Okay, so what you look like or the physical expression of the gene. If there is a dominant trait or allele in the genotype, the phenotype will always be dominant. You've heard it say that whenever you have a dominant trait, you express it no matter if you have the recessive one present. It's just like a dominant person in a group. They're always the one that's being expressed and the other people are not. What makes a gene dominant or recessive is a very complicated question. The research is a little bit unclear, but from what I can understand, from what I've researched, is it means that if the trait is dominant, it means that that protein is the one that works, and the recessive one is the one that has some sort of error or flaw in it, and that one is less likely to be expressed in a population. All right, so let's see. We're looking at the gene for color. You have purple flowers is the dominant trait, and you will always be told which one's dominant. Purple flowers are dominant to white flowers, so you'll be told which is dominant, which is recessive. For each of these three genotypes here, I want you to write what the phenotype will be. So the first one, I have double capital P, so I'm for sure going to show the purple phenotype. Okay, right here, I have heterozygous. I have at least one dominant allele that will always overshadow my recessive allele here. So purple will be expressed for the flower. And the only way to show a recessive trait is to be homozygous recessive. So this will be my only white flower. These are more rare in a population because they have a 1 out of a 3 chance, but these have a 2 out of a 3 chance to show the dominant trait. Okay, so what I want you guys to do right now is write the different genotypes that would provide these phenotypes. Straight hair is dominant to curly hair. So use the capital S and the lowercase s. The lowercase should have a little line over the top, but you don't have to do that when you're typing. So the 2 genotypes that would give you straight and the 1 genotype that would give you curly. I also want you to do it for pointed heads are dominant to round heads using the letter P. Okay, now that we're done with the notes, I want you guys to apply those to this scenario. We have a mystery dog here. Should we call this dog Spot? So let's go to this dog's chromosomes and take a look. I click here. So below is a picture of the puppy's chromosome. So this was the chromosome from the egg that made the baby. This is the chromosome from the sperm that made the baby dog. So we have our dominant and recessive genes defined right here. Just go ahead and highlight that or bold it. So let's see, what's the dog's genotype? One thing I need to tell you at this point is you always write the uppercase letter first. So the dog's genotype for hair length, I find the L's on the chromosome. Okay, he has a capital L from mom, a lowercase l from dad, so the dog is heterozygous. So the dog will have short hair because he has at least one capital letter. In order to get long hair, the recessive trait, he'd have to have 2 lowercase l's. So I want you to finish this chart on your own using the chromosomes. And again, you know the order based on the case. So the uppercase is always the first letter. And when you're done with that, I want you to interpret that genotype and answer these questions here. Underneath each question, I have a text box that you can click on and you can put your answer in there. And we will review the answers probably on Wednesday when this entire Google slide filled in will be due.